Madam, let us start the session, ma'am.
Yes, sir. We'll start the session. Yes, sir. Yeah, Kaviyarasi? Kaviyarasi?
Ma'am, yes, ma'am.
You can start.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Success is not a key to happiness. Happiness is not a key to success. If you like what you are doing, you will be successful. A very good morning to everyone present here. I take this privilege to warmly welcome all our delegates. I heartily welcome you all on the behalf of DPT Star Scheme, Ratnavel Subramaniam College of Arts and Science, Sulur, Coimbatore. The Department of Biochemistry cordially invite you for the one-day national level online FDP on digital implementation of life sciences. A good teacher can inspire hope, ignite the imagination, instill a love of learning. It is very difficult to believe that what was once dreamed is being fulfilled now. It's my pleasure to invite our dedicated faculty members from various states. Prayer is putting oneself in hands of God. I invite Yagapriya to give the prayer song. Welcome, Yagapriya.
मैत्रीं भजरा अखिल है मैत्रीं भजरा अखिल है आत्मवदेव पराणपि पश्यद आत्मवदेव पराणपि पश्यद युद्धं त्यजद स्पर्धां त्यजद युद्धं त्यजद स्पर्धां त्यजद त्यजद परेत्र क्रममात्रमं त्यजद परेत्र क्रममात्रमणं मैत्रीं भजद अखिल जेत्री मैत्रीं भजद अखिल जेत्री मैत्रीं भजद अखिल जेत्री.
Thank you, Yagapriya. To welcome is to show honor. To welcome is to establish integrity. Next, I would like to call upon our respected HOD, Ms. Shamina, to give the welcome address. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you, Kaviyarasi.
Yes, ma'am.
You can mute your audio because there is some disturbances.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you. So very good morning to one and all present here. I extend my wholehearted welcome to all member delegates in this one-day national level online FDP on digital implementation in life science. This program is organized by the Department of Biochemistry, Ratnavel Subramaniam College of Arts and Science under DPT Star Scheme on enhancing the knowledge about digital implementation in life science. I welcome Dr. Shailesh Kumar, scientist, DPT, National Institute of Research and Plant Genome, New Delhi, India. I welcome Dr. Subhaya Balaji, consultant, Medical Solution, Coimbatore, Tamil Nadu, India. And I also welcome Dr. Suja, professor and head, Department of Biochemistry, Bharatiyar University, for our program. And also thank all our chief guests for accepting for the as a chief guest for our FDP program. I welcome Dr. T. Shivakumar, Principal, RVS CAS, our Vice Principal, Sir, Dr. Ayapadas, Sir, and Star College Scheme Coordinator, Sir, Dr. Dhanabalan, Sir, and all the faculty members from our college and from other institutions. Friends, it is due to the motivation and inspiration that we people get from our institution, Ratnavel Subramaniam College of Arts and Science, that we are in a position to organize this type of national level FDP program. Ratanavel Subramaniam College of Arts and Science was established in the year 1983, and our college is better known for its innovation and its curriculum. And it carries the mantra education for digital era. I'm very happy that all our department faculty members gives their 100% and their hard work for development of the students. I would extend my wholehearted gratitude and thanks to our beloved, respectable Managing Trustee Sir Dr. K. Senthil Ganesh and Madam Trustee Mrs. Srividya Senthil Ganesh, and also to our Principal Dr. T. Shivakumar, our Vice Principal Dr. Ayapadas Sir, and also DPT Star Stream College Coordinator Dr. Dhanabalan Sir, for their unconditional support and guidance and giving us permission to conduct this faculty development program. Friends, life is education and education is life. And in this education scenario, teachers play a very vital role, and it becomes imperative to invest in preparing the staff and training the teacher so the future of the nation becomes secure. And in this pandemic situation, in COVID-19, I hope this program will definitely be an energy booster and enhance the level of information and knowledge in the field of digital implementation in life science. Thank you all. Stay tuned to our program. Over to you, Kaviyarsi.
Thank you, ma'am. I'm extremely honored and privileged for getting an opportunity to welcome Dr. Ayapadas, Vice Principal, to give the inaugural address. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Kaviyarsi. And
Okay.
it's my pleasure and indeed a privilege to join you this morning for the one-day national level online faculty development program. First of all, I have to thank Dr. Shamina Madam because she has done half of my job. Because she has already welcomed and she has expressed what is the theme of the FDP and what is the importance of the FDP. That's fine. Before that, I would like to welcome the top management, our principal, HOD Shamina Madam, and DBT Star Coordinator Dr. Dhanabalan Sir, and most respected Dr. Shailesh Kumar Ji, Scientist DBT NIPGR, Chief Guest of the Day. And we are expecting Dr. Subhaya Balaji and Dr. S. Sujar, my own professor, to join us shortly in the forthcoming sessions. So once again, on behalf of RVS College of Arts and Science, I welcome you. And digital implementation in life sciences. So this is one of the very important theme which has been earmarked by our managing trustee around 4 years back, where we have decided that we will be providing a quality bound digital education for the digital era. So education for digital era is our vision, rather our motto. So in align with that, and that was in align with the central government's national digital policy. So in align with that, I'm happy that in life sciences also that repercussions or that waves are hit, and they are also going to implement digital nuances in the life sciences, and that too, a scientist from DBT NIPGR is going to address the staff members is something which augments the quality of the FDP. And we strongly believe that if you want to educate a child or a student, first we have to educate our faculty, or first we have to empower our faculty. I think in that alignment, Biochemistry has organized the first program as faculty development program, which is very, very important, because once the faculty is empowered or developed, in turn, we will be able to motivate and develop our students. So in that score, I would like to congratulate the entire team, biochemistry team, right from the head to the organizing secretaries and also to the student coordinators. And also, I welcome all the participants and all the respected teachers and faculties from outside our institution and from our own institution for being kind enough to bear one day with us. And I welcome you all. And I wish all success for the program. Thank you. Thank you. Over to Kabir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. It's my pleasure to invite Dr. Dhanabalan, Star College Scheme Coordinator, to give the special address. Welcome, sir.
A very good morning to one and all present in this online platform. First of all, I take privilege to welcome and thank our chief guest, Dr. Shailesh Kumar, Scientist DBT National Institute of Plant Genome Research, New Delhi. Dr. Subhaya Balaji, Consultant Meditech Solutions, Coimbatore. Dr. Suja, Professor and Head Department of Biochemistry, Bharatiya University, for sharing their keynotes in the forthcoming scheduled FTP in the area of digital implementation in life sciences. On behalf of the management and participating departments, I wholeheartedly welcome all the participants from the colleges of Tamil Nadu and other states. We all understand that the present FTP topic, digital implementation in life sciences, is the need of the hour in this pandemic situation. I'm sure that this FTP will be an outstanding concept for all the participants. Once again, I thank the Department of Biotechnology New Delhi for granting the STAR scheme, all the resource persons, participants, and program coordinators for being with us in this moment. I need not take much time in this gathering. Thank you once again.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Now it's time to enter into our session 1. One-day national level online FTP on digital implementation of life sciences. Now, I would like to call upon Mr. Sivaganesh, Associate Professor, Department of Biochemistry, to give a special introduction about our chief guest. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
So, good morning to all. On behalf of our management and the Department of Biochemistry, it's my great pleasure and privilege to introduce our resource person, eminent personality, Dr. Shailesh Kumar, Staff Scientist 3, Bioinformatics Laboratory, National Institute of Plant Genome Research, New Delhi, to present the dynamic speech on surge of genomics datasets, microbes to plants. In DBT STAR scheme sponsored one-day national level online faculty development program on digital implementation in life science, conducted by the Department of Biochemistry, Ratanavel Subramaniam College of Arts and Science, Sudur, Coimbatore. When I saw his profile, I was really surprised because he has a very lengthy profile having a more number of achievements. He has an excellent academic qualification and position. He did his UG Biotechnology from 2004 to 2007 in Jamia Millia Islamia, JMI, New Delhi. He completed PG in Life Sciences from 2007 to 2009, Jawaharlal Nehru University, JNU, New Delhi. He obtained his PhD Bioinformatics from 2009 to 2014 in Bioinformatics Center, Institute of Microbial Technology, Chandigarh, under Jawaharlal Nehru University, JNU, New Delhi. He acted higher position in various aspects. Research scientist from 2014 to 2015 in Sar Ganga Ram Hospital, New Delhi. He acted as a postdoctoral research associate from 2015 to 2017 in University of Virginia, USA. He was a staff scientist too from May 2017 to June 2020 in National Institute of Plant Genome Research, New Delhi. Currently, he is a staff scientist 3 in National Institute of Plant Genome Research, New Delhi. He has a remarkable scientific contribution and recognition. He has qualified GATE exam in the year of 2008 to 2009. He has placed JRF and SRF from 2009 to 2014 in Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, CSIR, New Delhi, India. He is a reviewer for various books and journals such as PLAS ONE, BMC Genomics, BMC Bioinformatics, BMC Biology, Biotechnology, and Frontiers in Physiology. He is the editorial board member of various reputed journals, act as an associate editor for Journal of Translational Medicine and BMC Bioinformatics. He has selected for Sakura Exchange Program in Science for Indian Young Officers, Japan from January 21 to 27 in 2018 by the Department of Biotechnology, DBT, India. His area of research interest, identification and characterization of novel molecules in plants, development of web servers, database and computational pipelines for plant research and plant biotechnology. He has published many number of publications in peer-reviewed publication and genome announcement publication. He also published in various book chapters with a more number of citation index. Once again, on behalf of our Department of Biochemistry, Ratanavel Subramaniam College of Arts and Science, Coimbatore, I welcome you, sir, for this DPT Star Scheme sponsored one-day national level online FDP program. Thank you, one and all. Now I hand over the session to the resource person. Over to the honorable resource person. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Without any delay, I would like to hand over the session to Dr. Sailesh Kumar. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Shivaji, for this introduction, basically.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, so I am still learning this biological sciences, actually. So, and it's a never-ending field, actually. It's like we are identifying novel molecules in plants and animals, and it's like, the process is going on since like several decades. And it's a known ending field, I can say, this biological sciences. So anyways, so basically, let me share my presentation and okay. Okay, so basically there is some problem in this. Let me again start sharing.
Sir, shall I help you? Shall I help you?
Yeah, so basically in the present now, your entire screen, I'm clicking the entire screen and okay.
You can go for present now, sir.
Okay. I think okay, let me open this in Safari. Basically, there is some problem in this Chrome right now. So let me open this in Safari and then this will be fine.
If you need, you can also send the PPT to my mail, sir, so that I can present it for you, if you can.
It will take 1 minute. Please give me.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
All right. Can you see my PPT now?
Yeah, sir. You are presenting now. It's fine.
Great.
We can see you, sir.
Yeah. So without any
The screen is visible.
Great. So without any
Yes, sir. You can present.
Yeah. So
Yeah, sir. Yes, sir.
So this presentation is all about the search of genomics data sets, microbes to plants. So basically, I am showing you my journey in the field of bioinformatics. So as the title of this program or event suggests, that digitization of the biological sciences basically. So I am the person involved in the data analysis, basically how this biological data converted into the sequences and then numbers basically. So let me start my journey in the field of bioinformatics. So I will be presenting about next generation sequencing, whole genome assembly annotation, integration
Sir,
of,
sir, excuse me.
yes,
Shailesh, sir, your voice is a little breaking, sir. Like,
okay, maybe because
yeah,
of
it's
the
a little break. Yeah, sir.
internet issue, but I think this is the internet is fine from my side actually. Is
Yes, sir.
okay.
You can leave and rejoin. Sometimes it
Okay,
happens like that.
fine, all right.
Okay, sir. You can leave and rejoin immediately.
Okay. Can you see my slides now?
Yeah, sir. It is visible. It is visible.
Okay. So basically, I was talking about the next generation sequencing technologies. Actually, these sequencing technologies producing high throughput data in form of short reads. Basically, the digitization of data the biological sciences start from here actually. These sequencer convert these genome into the short reads, basically the ATGC numbers. So basically, scientists are using these sequencing technologies, for genomes, transcriptome, exomes, and different type of sequencing like chip or bisulfide sequencing, Illumina, ABI Solid, Roche 454, Iron Torrent, Heliscope, PacBio, and Nanopore. Different technologies, and people are using because of their low cost and time actually, as compared to Sanger sequencing. These sequencers produce data uh, in low cost and in very less time. Okay, and as you can see, this is the graph of the sequence read archive of sequence read archive. Like people are sequencing the genomes, transcriptome, exomes, and they are depositing at this repository, that is NCBI SRA. And you can see at x-axis, this is like from year 2009 to 2017 or 18, the size of the you know, deposited at NCBI SRA. I request you to please like mute yourself. Yes. Yes. So basically at y-axis, actually, you can see the size of reads in terabytes. Okay. So in 2009, like around 2 terabyte data was there. Now in 2018, it is like more than 10,000 of terabytes of the small RNA sequencing, the reads, basically, the sequencing reads available, freely available for scientific community. So first topic is the whole genome assembly annotation with the help of these small reads. So for the microbial genome assembly annotation, I use this pipeline, basically, the quality check. If we sequence any genome of microbe, then we have to first remove the low quality sequences, removal of the reads containing adapter sequences, trim the reads which contains N means any nucleotide, and genome assembly, reference assisted. If we have reference genome, then it is like reference genome selection, reference assisted genome assembly, de novo genome assembly, and if reference genome not available, that is de novo genome assembly. And then the third step is the genome finishing, aligning contigs or scaffolds to the related species, assembled genome visualization, gap filling by Sanger sequencing, and last step is the genome annotation. Genome annotation by existing pipelines, genome annotation by different specific tools with existing data set, manual annotation for a particular class of genes. So if, like, suppose you are interested in some specific class of genes, then you can go for like some manual annotations also. So this is the pipeline again. Basically, if you have a microbe, then you can sequence that microbial genome with the help of these Illumina or 454 platforms. 454 platform is not available right now, but the reads are available at NCBI SRA. So if somebody sequenced any genome with the help of this 454 technology, then you can always take a read from NCBI SRA and you can start analyzing them. So these sequencer produce reads, okay, short reads, and then we have genome assemblers, Velvet, Sobrino, Abyss, and Essig, and Abyss, Essig, Euler. So different kind of tools are available to assemble those reads into contigs. And of course, after contigs, we have to assemble these contigs into scaffolds. Scaffolds, the assembly of contigs by putting N between them. So N is any nucleotide. Actually, in this sequencing technology, sometimes they produce like N. They cannot recognize whether it's A, T, G, or C. And then genome annotation. Okay, annotation with the help of annotation server, or you can install some software locally, and you can do some annotation. So I will give you an example of Burkhardt area. Basically, during my PhD, at MTCC, basically Microbial Type Culture Collection at UMTech Chandigarh, they isolate this Burkhardt area, and wet lab scientists said that they characterize basically this bacteria as nitroaromatic compound degrading bug. Basically, they said that this can be a superbug to degrade the nitroaromatic compounds. So as a scientist, as a bioinformatician, I was like handling the sequencing data. They sequence and they said that, okay, can you identify something in the genome sequence of this bacteria? So we sequenced this Burkholderia with the help of Roche 454 technology, and we got some reads, and then we assembled the reads, these short reads, into 79 contigs with the help of genome assembler Nubler. So Nubler genome assembler is best for the Roche 454 assembly. And then 79 is contigs into 17 scaffolds basically. And then we need some annotation with the RAST server, PGAP server, CAS server. And then after this, we sequenced again this genome with Illumina sequencing. You can see the right hand side, uppermost, the Illumina sequencing. So we already had this scaffolds of 17 scaffolds with more than 58,000 of Ns basically. And then after Illumina sequencing, I align those Illumina reads to the scaffolds and fill the gaps. Like in the second step at the left hand side, you can see the scaffolds, 17 scaffolds with 811 Ns. It means this Illumina sequencing reduced the gap from 58,000 to 800, And then right hand side Illumina sequencing also, data also assembled into the contigs, and then we align those contigs to the scaffolds with the help of BLAST, and finally we ended up with 14 scaffolds without any N. So that is the genome assembly process that we followed at that time, And this bacteria supposed to have 3 chromosomes and 3 plasmid basically. So ideally we should get the 6 contigs, but the gap between the scaffolds and in the genome, that region, some region was not somehow sequenced with these high throughput sequencing, and then we end up with 14 scaffolds. Finally we assembled and annotate, and you can see a pipeline basically. I am showing you the pipeline of this genome assembly annotation. So in the first paper, we published this nitroaromatic compound degrading bacteria as a genome draft in the Journal of Bacteriology. In the second one, as you can see, I am the first author in both papers. So I did the genome annotation of Burkholderia with special focus on chemotaxis genes actually. So I identified the chemotaxis genes and chemotaxis gene clusters in the bacteria. And then in the last paper, basically, with my colleague Surendra, Surendra was like experimental scientist, and then he experimentally validated the paranitrophenol degrading genes basically in the gene cluster in Burkholderia, and I identify those genes basically. So I'm showing you a pipeline, like how with the help of this sequencing we can publish and we can follow a pipeline to find out some useful information. And not only this, actually 12 other bacterial genome drafts were published at that time by me, because I was the only person involved in this sequencing technology, data assembly, annotation, And then the other scientist, Dr. Ganeshan, he also asked my help that they sequence the Daphromyces hansenii, basically that is like salt tolerant yeast. So they sequence with the help of Illumina technology. So I filter the reads, assemble the reads, and with the help of Maker pipeline, I annotated the genome. And this is some numbers of this yeast, actually more than 11 MB genome. And then some we identified some proteins, and they further did some experimental work. And then Dr. Bachawat here at Intech Chandigarh, he also sequenced another oil producing yeast, that is oil producing yeast, Rhodosporidium tauruloides. At MTCC they identified, and then they sequenced, basically again asked for my help for the assembly and annotation. So I did the genome assisted transcriptome assisted genome annotation. So for the genome, basically we filter the read, we assemble the reads into contains, and the transcriptome, we filter the transcriptome reads, and then we got the assembled transcriptome. And with the help of Maker pipeline, this pipeline have these software packages like Augustus, GeneMark, FGene, Snap, and then finally the genome annotation. So both the papers was published as genome draft in Eukaryote Cell, as I was the leading author because I started all these things, And then this is the strategy to make our research popular, making a web page actually. Like as I discussed earlier with the Berkeley area, I designed this web page actually. If you go to this link, all the information of genome assembly and annotation is available at this link, and you can I put a genome browser on this website also, that is very interactive. And not only this, different bacteria I also annotate, and these are 17 genomes that I was talking about. So at this link actually you can find out the raw data and assemble data and annotation data as well, and you can just explore this, that what is going on in this microbial genomics as far as this NGS technologies are concerned. So, and then after this, I developed a pipeline, basically Genotric pipeline for the whole genome assembly and annotation. You can go to this link actually at the bottom where you can find out this pipeline. You can download, you can install this pipeline at your computer and just try downloading some data from NCBI SRA, and then try to assemble and annotate with the help of this pipeline. So basically, I incorporated software packages like NGS QC Toolkit for the filtering of NGS reads, and the Velvet software for the assembly, and Proca pipeline for the prokaryote genome assembly. Okay, so all these information is available at this link basically. And after this, microbial genome assembly annotation, my other colleagues also found this work interesting, and they said that, okay, why don't you integrate some tools, in our databases, the servers, web servers, basically. So Rahul, one of my colleagues, he was developing this cancer databases, cancer drug resistant database, and this database have cancer drug and genes, basically the cancer target genes. And then he said that, can you help me, can you put something in this this database, and then so that we can publish it easily. And then I have decided to put a module, map or alignment in the short read, contigs and sequences at this database. So this database have the wild type, or I can say the cancer target genes, basically wild type genes that are known cancer targets in the different type of cancer. So if there is something, some mutation in that in those genes, then we can say that, okay, so this person is prone to cancer, or this is a cancer patient. So I incorporate this module on this database. Like suppose for short reads, actually, if you give short reads to these this module and the email ID, then this will align your short reads to those genome those cancer targets basically, and this will be useful for the alignment, useful for the identification of mutations. You can see the short reads you will give, and this will align to the short reads to the cancer targets. So at the left hand side, these are the genes basically, which are cancer targets, and these are the align reads basically, which any user can give. And then this is the, like, suppose for a particular gene, a particular cancer target, this is the mutation actually. Like suppose a new person or new cancer patient sequence their genome or transcriptome and then give those reads to this database, then this will align those reads to the cancer targets, and you can identify that, okay, in new patient this mutation is happening. Okay, like in wild type, in the normal case it is A here, and in the cancer patient this is G here. So that's the beauty of this tool. You can check, you can identify the mutations in cancer patients. And of course, that contigs basically. Contigs means contiguous chunks of nucleotides basically. You can give the assemble contigs, you can assemble the reads and give those contigs to this module, also the contig module, and then this contig, this module can predict the genes basically and align those genes to the cancer target genes again, and then you can identify the alignment and all these things. And the sequence alignment, you can directly give these nucleotide sequence or the protein sequence to this module, and this will with the help of BLAST, this will give you the alignment result basically. So we were able to publish this in cancer as a cancer DR, like in scientific reports. So the same strategy I followed with another pancreatic cancer methylation database, and then this is the module. And then we again publish this database as in the scientific report. So so how, like, from starting from microbe and then some this human with this incorporation of these tools in the databases, and now the human genomics basically how this next generation sequencing technology is helpful for the human genomics. So, and next generation sequencing technology for the human. So we can sequence whole genome, RNA-seq, exome, small RNA sequencing for non-coding RNA study, degradome sequencing, ChIP-seq, HiSeq, and many more applications for this NGS technologies. And I'm here showing you the exome sequencing. One by one, I'll show you the modules basically for small RNA or the microRNA or the viral derived siRNA. Here right now, exome sequencing. So here, like if you have exome, if you sequence the exome means the coding part, only the coding part of human genome. Okay. So first step is to align the those FASTQ reads basically to the to filter the FASTQ reads with the help of some tools basically. At step 1, we have these so many tools: NGS QC toolkit, FastX or FastQC toolkit, and then align those the filtered reads to the human genome. So step 2, here you can use BWA, Bowtie or MAC, and then alignment file SAM format to BAM format basically. You can convert it with the help of this SAM to BAM with the help of SAM tool. And then step 4, processing of the alignment files, detection of SNPs and somatic variations. We can use these tools like VARScan at number 4, SNP-Mix, SOAP, and VCF tools. And the 5th step is the mutation effect on proteins. You can predict the disease or drug target relationship with the help of the exome sequencing. At step 5, you can use this VAST and NOVAR tools basically. So I personally handle the 1000 genome project data, that is like freely available data. Here they sequence 1000 of genomes, normal human genomes basically, and I identify the 1000 genome sequencing data, the variation I call the variations, and then effect of variation on the proteins basically, annotation of the variants you can say. And then we were able that study, that analysis is incorporated into this, the bottom one, basically a platform for designing genome-based personalized immunotherapy or vaccine against cancer. So this is the contribution, both papers basically. The data was utilized in these papers. Okay. And then after this work, basically, I moved to the postdoc, moved to the USA for my postdoc. There I started this identifying the fusion transcript, basically, with the help of these next generation sequencing technologies. So what are fusion transcripts? Give me a moment. Okay. So fusion of two transcripts, basically, that may be coding or non-coding. So these fusion transcripts traditionally detected in various tumors and stabilized as biomarkers, basically, like BCR, ABL in like cancer fusion. This is in chronic myogenous leukemia. TIMPRAS are fusion transcript in prostate cancer, and EML4 ALK in lung cancer. Not only all these three examples, but different type of fusion transcript in different type of cancers are like they are well-known biomarkers actually. But in the fusion transcript also have been detected in non-neoplastic tissues actually. In the B part actually, this is the paper from my lab actually where I was doing the postdoc. So my colleagues also identify the fusion transcript in normal human being and in other organisms also. Some preliminary reports were there in 2013. So how this fusion transcript form basically, like with the help of translocation, insertion, inversion. This is like balanced rearrangement and unbalanced rearrangement, deletion basically. So, and not only at the DNA level, but these fusion transcripts also formed at the RNA level as well, like by trans-splicing of different transcripts basically. Trans-splicing means the two different pre-mRNAs of two different chromosomes or two different regions of one chromosome. Okay. And then it's a trans-splicing form a fusion transcript. And the cis-splicing is the neighboring gene fusion basically. And of course, the proteins between these neighbor transcript, in the genome, they will also help in the processing of this cis-spliced fusion formation. So after that, actually, like I was studying these fusion transcript, and as a postdoc, basically, I found like as a bioinformatician, like so many tools were available to identify the fusion transcript. Okay, in some several tools available for RNA-seq reads. Some tools require both RNA-seq and whole genome sequencing reads. Some consider single end, and other require paired end reads. Latest tools are also accepting reads produced by third generation sequencer. So as a bioinformatician, I have decided to benchmark these tools. I wanted to know that which tool is producing good fusion, produce like maximum fusion, overlap between the result of different tools, which tool is taking less time and memory. Is there any detection in the data that does not have fusion? If yes, then which tool produce minimum false fusion, which tool produce maximum false fusion, factors alter the false fusion detection. And I was searching the literature actually, and then found that one effort was there in 2013. They compared 6 tools, but at the time of like my research in 2016, I found like more than 20 tools actually available for the fusion transcript detection. So I found I asked these questions and developed this study. Basically, I have taken positive data set. Like a positive data set means in the RNA-seq data set in which that I already know that this one contain the 50 fusions. That is my positive data set in which we already know that this RNA-seq read have that much fusion. Negative data set, simulated reads of length 175 and 50 nucleotide. Actually, we wanted to check the effect of length also in the fusion detection. And we have two set of different quality score for each length basically. Mixed data set. I mix this positive and negative data set to make a mixed data set, and test data set is the real life data set that Fusion, basically Fusion Chin, sequence 6 RNA sequencing samples of the prostate cancer. And then I took this data set also. So I was able to publish this, the comparative study in the scientific reports. That's a decent journal actually. It's not very like a very hi-fi journal, but it's kind of a decent journal. Okay. So I was able to publish as a first author this comparative assessment of method for the fusion transcript detection from RNA-seq reads. And I published in 2016. At the same time, actually, that is a reputed journal. Nucleic acid research is reputed journal, and they also published the same kind of study at same time, basically comprehensive evaluation of fusion transcript detection algorithm and a meta-caller to combine top performing method in paired and RNA-seq read. So there are two things I want to discuss here. The one is, you can see the effort from a single person. So single means the NG was like undergraduate student. He was just helping me to making some slides and figures. Fusion was my colleague that I was using his data, the data D, the test data set, and Huili was the mentor basically. So I was the majorly involved in all these study as a first author. So this kind of my effort, and you can see the efforts from different group worldwide, basically, like group from USA, group from Taiwan, and group from different countries actually, USA, Taiwan. These are like major collaboration, and they were able to publish this study in very reputed journal, that is NAR, Nucleic Acid Research. So that's the difference between the collaborative effort and the effort of a single person kind of. And the second thing is there is I read that paper actually. There is nothing great in this paper, but actually they use some more sophisticated graphs, more sophisticated data presentation, and they use around 20 tools. I use in my benchmarking study, I use 12 tools. So I read that paper actually, but I found something in this paper that actually they were thinking that this fusion transcripts only present in cancer samples actually. So they took the data for the benchmarking. They took the data of normal human being. They said that this is our negative data set, that this does not contain the fusions. But in my laboratory actually in USA, I was detecting the fusion transcript in normal human being also. So I questioned this paper basically. So I said that I question this, that the negative data set they took was also must have the fusion transcript because it is like a real life normal human being data. So I discussed these things like the identification, importance of the fusion genes, fusion finder mechanism, comparison, future, and benchmarking study, pros and cons, importance, and then future directions. So I wrote a review for this, and then the first author review was published actually in Wire's RNA journal. And then the editor was so happy actually, they asked me to develop a cover image of the journal basically. So I have a privilege to represent the cover image of that issue of the journal, basically Wire's RNA. And I made this cover image, and this is nothing but Sarcos plots of the gene fusion transcripts basically. Like in the left hand side, that is like the neighboring gene fusions, they represented in lines actually, the straight lines. And the bottom one is the gene fusion transcripts from different different chromosomes. Actually, these parental genes are available at different chromosomes. And the right hand side upper one is the mixture of this data. So I developed this image, and then they accept as a as a cover image. So that was interesting actually. So with this practice, I was able to understand that these fusion transcripts also present in the normal human being. So smartly we took this data actually from this paper. Actually, we took the gene fusion data. Sorry, the RNA-seq data actually. These authors use the 27 human tissues, and they sequence the RNA, and they identify the gene expression basically. So with this data actually, I downloaded this data and identify the fusion transcript. And then representation, basically, that is more important in the study, how you represent your data. Basically, this is a simple data, like the number of fusion transcript present in the normal human being, like in 27 tissues. And then this is a Sarkos plot, basically. And then these are like different type of fusion, intrachromosome, interchromosome, and then that this is very interesting that so the I compared my fusion data with the gene expression data of that paper. And then this is the upper one is the expression based clustering of the genes, basically, and then the down the fusion based clustering that I performed, basically. So I said that this expression based clustering is the fusion based clustering is reliable, more reliable as compared to the expression based clustering, because the gene expression can change with the time, with the condition. Like if I run fast, then of course, like some of my expression of my genes will automatically change in minutes, actually. But this fusion formation in the normal human being does not, this fusion formation does not occur like in this short interval of time. It took like months or years, I can say. So I said that this fusion-based clustering is more reliable and as compared to expression-based clustering, more stable, I can say. So this is like assumption, basically. And then we were able to publish our research of the normal human being RNA, this one fusion transcript, fusion RNA in nucleic acid research, the paper. And then, of course, I also correlate this fusion data with the help with phenotypic data, and then the correlation with aging, actually. Then we publish this in Genes, basically. So that's how like I start learning these fusion transcript identification, characterization, and after this I personally handled more than 10,000 of RNA-seq data sets and identified the fusion, and the result was a publication, the second author publication in nucleic acid research, that is like reputed journal, basically. So landscape of chimeric RNA in non-disease tissues and cells. So the Sandeep and Fusion was like combined first author, and I was the second author. Actually, I started this work when I was doing postdoc in USA, but I came here at Virginia at NIPGR. So then I stopped working on this, and then Sandeep, one of my junior, gone to at my same seat at the USA, and then he led that study, and then we were able to publish this in NAR, basically. Not only the normal human being, I also identify the fusion transcript in different tissues in the USA. So you can see the PNAS is very reputed journal, and the eBiomedicine, we were able to publish this in different type of chimeric RNA in different cancers. So that was the story, actually, like after the microbial genomics, the fusion transcript story. And now I ended here at NIPGR as a scientist. So I started this fusion transcript identification, characterization in plants, So I asked some questions basically to understand the mechanism of fusion formation in plant, evolutionary genomics, role of species and stage-specific gene fusion in plants, role of gene fusion in synthesis of secondary metabolite. Why I am asking this secondary metabolite? Because I read when I joined NIPGR as a plant bioinformatics person, I read some literature, found that the second step in the opium synthesis in poppy is a gene fusion, basically. So, so I from that paper, basically, I found that there is something that fusion also play a role in secondary metabolite production, gene cluster formation, and gene fusion for the plant immunity and non-coding. If the fusion transcript is not coding for any protein, then it may act as long coding RNA. So I am exploring these things, basically. To start with, in the plants, basically, I use the pipeline, basically. Our group, paired and RNA-seq reads, downloading from NCBI SRA, the conversion of FASTQ format, and then ARIScript, a tool, and then the fusion detection, and then development of this database. Actually, what we did, we have downloaded that fusion transcript, the RNA-seq data from NCBI SRA, identify the fusion transcript, and put several type of information, with the reference to these fusion transcript and different type of tools, and we were able to publish this as a database like AT Fusion DB. That is a database of fusion transcript in Arabidopsis thaliana. So you can just Google it like AT Fusion DB and you can explore this AT Fusion DB and the paper related to this AT Fusion DB. So you will find the very interesting this fusion transcript in plants. And of course, we have future plants also after the identification. And then known code, the small RNA in plants basically. So I also handle this small RNA sequencing data in plants. So like these are the major endogenous regulatory non-coding RNAs in plants. You can see the microRNA. From small RNA sequencing, you can find out the microRNA, net siRNA, secondary siRNA, HC siRNA, and TsRNA. TS means the tRNA related fragments. And from RNA-seq, you can identify the long non-coding RNA and circular RNAs. And we can also categorize these RNAs in terms of the length, basically, like 20 to 24 nucleotide length. We have these small RNAs, and 15 to 48 nucleotide length. We have TRFs, tRNA fragments, and tRNA halves. Basically, long non-coding RNA have the more than 200 nucleotide length and more than 100 nucleotide length circular RNA. Circular RNA may be exonic, exointronic, and intronic. These are the different strategies, basically major approaches in microRNA and siRNA annotation using small RNA seq reads. So I'm not going into the details of these, but actually we discussed these things in one of our review article, basically that is already accepted in briefings in bioinformatics. That is a very reputed journal of impact factor 9 basically. So let the review come online. You can explore these things basically, and all my research articles are available at my profile of NIPGR. So annotation of tRNA fragments, you can see I will be discussing this tRNA in detail, tRNA fragments, and of course the long non-coding RNA and the circular RNAs. I'm not going into this text, So let me discuss this TRF basically, tRNA fragments, as I said earlier. So tRNA fragments basically, please give me a moment.
Yes, sir.
So tRNA derived fragments basically. So this is the process of formation of pre-tRNA to mature tRNA. And from pre-tRNA, this 3' and from 3' and this TRF1 have been generated. And from this mature tRNA, from 5' and this TRF5 and 3' from 3' and TRF5 generated. And of course, the tRNA halves are also generated with this mature tRNA. So these tRNA fragments are 15 to 28 nucleotide length. They are not byproduct of tRNA degradation. It means they are not randomly, like tRNA cannot randomly degrade and make these byproducts, the tRNA degradation products. But actually, it is a well-organized process. And this tRNA, whether it's tRNA fragments, microRNA, long non-coding RNA, fusion transcript, circular RNA, all those are the part of regulatory circuits of genome basically. Whether it's a human genome or plant genome, these are the players in making the genome regulatory circuit. And it is still going on, people are still understanding how this complex genome regulatory circuit is going, forming, they are forming to regulate the genome basically in different type of conditions. So that's how I already said that this biological field is like non-ending field. We have to explore several things, so it's going on. So all tRNA do not produce 3 TRFs, but not all TRFs are equally abundant actually. The TRFs detected in diverse species ranging from archaebacteria to human and plants. Multiple role of TRF in different organisms. And in humans, both dicer dependent and dicer independent pathways known for the TRF generation. So dicer dependent means like microRNA, like how the microRNA generated, the form basically, and the TRF form that process, and no dicer independent pathway also. And as far as TRF, the position of TRFs in plants is concerned, exact mechanism of TRF generation is not elucidated in plants. Overexpression of TRFs during oxidative stress and phosphate deficient condition. Overexpression in different abiotic and abiotic stress conditions in barley, rice, pumpkin, apple, soybean, and pepper. In Arabidopsis, is not only DCL but ribonuclease RNS1 enzyme involved in the TRF generation, as I discussed earlier. Classical dicer-dependent pathways cannot be ruled out. TRFs bind with agoproteins involved in the transcription repression, and they are also involved in the translation repression. So at NIPGR, we developed this pipeline, basically the alignment of raw reads, the adapter, primer adapter trimming, and then alignment of reads, filtered reads to the tRNA genes, and identification of tRNA fragments. So we identified more than 1,300 small RNA sequencing data of 3 plants, and then we align those tRNA reads to the tRNA genes, and we were able to generate these numbers basically. As I already said, that TRF5 are larger than TRF3 than TRF1. So, and these numbers are also showing like we are going in the right direction. And then we developed this database. We can incorporate this, the TRFs in this web server, and then able to publish this as a paper basically in databases. Okay. And of course, we are also working in the tRNA, the plant tRNA, and this database this also available here at NIPGR Plant PepDB website. And of course, we have future plans also. And another category of the small viral derived small interfering RNAs in plants actually. Suppose, like when the virus infects the plant basically, then from the viral genome, these VSI-RNAs produce actually, and with the help of the ago and other proteins, the RISC complex develop, and these VSI-RNAs produce and then inhibit the viral genome by RISC complex. Epigenetic modification in the viral genome for DNA viruses. So the viral-derived siRNAs basically itself inhibit the viral genome. Okay, so it means this is the antiviral strategy that can be followed in the plants basically. What we can do, we can incorporate these VSI-RNAs into the plant genome and develop the transgenic plants. So those transgenic plants may be resistant to those viruses basically. So we discussed this VSI-RNA generation, and this is the pipeline, how we can identify these VSI-RNAs with the help of next generation sequencing data sets. Like raw siRNA reads, we have to filter those reads, we have to map those reads and detect the varioids, align those host plant basically, and then unmapped read we can assemble de novo contigs, and then contigs to the viral genome and identify the virus. And if these contigs are not hit, then we can identify the novel reads and contigs to identify the novel virus basically. So these are the pipelines, the tools basically, tools and the databases for the identification of biological varioid and viruses. Okay, and all this, and then we have developed this plant viral derived databases. You can see this link, you can explore this link, PVSRNA-DB, and then the strategy of this viral siRNA detection is like all the strategy we discussed in this review article. This is recently published in 2020, and the excellent effort by Vivek and Shafak and you can explore this review article. Just read this and just understand how the VSRNAs we can identify and their role and their future implications of this technology. So the last topic is the therapeutic peptide. Actually, we have also identified the therapeutic peptides in plants. So plant-derived peptides, basically, the we are targeting the fundamental feature of the bacterial cell, mostly AMPs like antimicrobial peptides or cytosine-rich peptide with 2 to 6 intramolecular disulfide bond, having high chemical, thermal, and proteolytic stability, ability to tolerate hypervariable sequences to recognize different targets. So we have collected some data, and then we have uh, compiled the information from research articles. We did some first level of the curation, second level of curation, and we developed this plant PepDB. So this plant PepDB have the plant peptides that have therapeutic activities like microbe killing, invertebrate killing, inhibitory, toxic, and different kind of things we have. So you can explore this plant PepDB also. Ambient curated plant peptide database. So these are my efforts actually in the field of bioinformatics and genomics. And now I would like to thank my PhD supervisor, Dr. GPS Raghava, and postdoc advisor, Dr. Huili, and of course now I have my own lab. Since last 3 years, my lab members at NIPGR. And thanks for all of you for your kind patience. And if you have any questions and concern, you can always email me at shailesh@nipgr.ac.in, and I am I will be replying to your emails. There is no problem in communication, and if you want any collaboration, you are always welcome. And so with this, I want to terminate my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shailesh, sir. Kavya, over to you.
Yes. So you can ask questions.
Thank you, sir. Thank
Yeah.
you so much for your valuable speech. The session is open for queries. If you have any questions, you can ask us. Kindly, the session is open for queries.
You can just post your questions in the chat box, or you can unmute and you can ask the questions. Sir, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Yeah, sir. Myself Shamina, and I have a question for you. We find like plants have this neurotransmission, right, sir? Neurotransmission, the study of plants based on neurotransmission, right?
Neurotransmission.
Yeah.
Actually,
The plant, the
Uh-huh.
conduct there, yeah, sir.
So what exactly is your question?
Is it basically connected to the genetic type of the plant, or how it is, sir? When we need to do some, because I have seen few research from Bose Institute, Calcutta, that they work on neurotransmission in plants. And I have a doubt whether this sort of work is related to the genetic part of the plant genome.
Okay. Actually, I'm not aware with this neurotransmission. So.
Okay, sir.
Yeah,
Okay,
so.
sir. Okay, sir. No problem. If there is no queries, Kaviyarasi, like, is there any queries? So there is a query over there in the chat box. Can microbial gene trigger new secondary metabolites in plants?
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, in case of the nodulation, so we know that nodulation, some bacteria involved basically during nodulation. Actually, there is some role of the microbes that can stimulate the secondary metabolite production in plants. So you can explore basically some research articles related to the nodulation in leguminous plants.
And then is another question from Shobha. What are the software that are being used to identify the gene expression in plants, sir?
So basically, people are using top hat and cuffling since like more than 2 decades. Actually, people were using top hat and cuffling. These are the software developed by Baltimore University of Baltimore. I think John Hopkins Group, Salzburg Group, basically. But now they changed their pipeline. Actually, now they replace their tools like HiSat and DSAT basically. So you just explore the Salzburg, you just Google it, the Salzburg, and that HiSat basically. So you will find out the paper, that is a Nature paper, that have the commands also to calculate the gene expression actually. Okay, let me give you a link right now quickly. Let me open this.
There is one more question from Sanjeev Verma. In the meanwhile,
Yes.
I'm writing you the link. Can we target to induce antioxidant production in plants by modifying the bacterial genome?
Can we target to introduce
The
antioxidant
antioxidant production?
in plant by modifying the bacterial genome? So yes, we can do that actually. Like secondary metabolite production, that is like people are also trying to enhance the secondary metabolite production in different plants. Like I can give one example here. Like Dr. Ashutosh Pandey at NIPGR, basically, he is one of my colleagues. He is trying to incorporate to enhance the secondary metabolite production in the banana fruit basically. According to him, the secondary metabolites are more in peels basically, that we always throw, in the as compared to banana fruit. So he want to enhance the production of those secondary metabolites by genetic engineering, in fruit, basically in banana fruit, not in the peels. So he's working on that. So we can do definitely.
Yeah, somebody want to ask question. I hope somebody is raising their hands.
Okay.
Madam, can I get that? Yeah. Somebody was. Yeah, you can unmute. Whoever want to ask a question, you can unmute yourself, and you can ask the question.
Please ask. So I send you a link, basically latest tools for gene expression. So you can click that link and you can find out the latest tools developed by Salzburg. Actually, the whole world is using for gene expression their software. Actually, the BOTI, TOPAD, HiSat2. As I can see at this link, number 3 is HiSat2 and StingTry basically. Okay, these are the tools people are using. The whole world is using actually. HiSat2 and StingTry. Okay, you can explore this link. So any other question?
No, sir, there is no question in the chat box right now. So sir has given us the tool, the latest tool, what the whole world is using for the gene expression. I hope sir mail ID is also been shared. You can contact sir for further queries and doubts and other things. Sir, regarding the MOU on the joint works, how could we contact you, sir? Through mail ID or your profile mail ID?
Pardon me, what you said?
Sir, like how could we contact you for the MOU purpose and for other research, joint research work, sir?
Yeah, definitely email me. Just email me. I'll be very happy to, yeah. So please email me.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So thank you, Shailesh, sir. So with this, Kaviyarasi, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, you can go for, yeah. So thank you, Shailesh, sir. It was a great presentation. You have given a lot of inputs regarding the plant genome database and how to work on the gene expression of it. Really, as scientists from DBT, we feel the Department of Biochemistry from Ratnaveli Subramaniam College of Arts and Science really blessed. We, the faculty members, are honored to have you as our chief guest. And we got a lot of inputs from you, and really, we'll be stay connected with you for a lot of research works and for the future endeavors. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, and be with us for your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you so much, sir. So over to you, Kaveri.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. And you have given queries in a very good answer the queries without any deletion. Thank you so much. And thank you, ma'am, for giving vote of thanks. And let us have a tea break for 15 minutes. And the session 2 FTP online for digital implementation of life science will be starts by 11:45. I request everyone to join by 11:45.
Regarding the attendance link, you can just say a word.
Yeah, there is an attendance link which is posted in the chat box. Kindly open the link and confirm your attendance through the link. So I'll repeat again, session 2 will be starting by 11:45. Kindly everyone join the session 2 of FTP online, digital implementation of life sciences by 11:45. Thank you all.
Thank you, Shailesh, sir. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So 15 minutes, there is a break. The session 2 of FTP online for digital implementation of life science starts by 11:45. I request every faculty members to be joined by 11:45. Session 2 starts by 11:45.
Okay, no problem, Kaviyarasi will be connected. There's no issue. The session will be open only. So they'll be connected. If in the meanwhile, they can have their tea break. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah, Karthik, sir, your query is it the same link to join for the session 2? Yes, sir. The joining link is the same. It doesn't change. It remains the same. And for the next session, we have Dr. Subaya Balaji consultant from the Meditech Solutions, Coimbatore, Tamil Nadu. He'll be giving a note on the topic.